All right, let's dive into your TMB deep dive.
Yeah.
We're zeroing in on day one of your hike, and you've done a ton of research. So let's break it down together and uncover those essential nuggets for your first day on the trail, from Le Houches to Gites le Melezes.
Sounds great.
So let's kick things off with the basics. What's the standard route look like for day one in terms of distance, elevation, and time?
Yeah, so standard route clocks in around 13.5 kilometers, or if you're thinking in miles, that's about 8.4. And get ready for a good climb, because you're looking at about 1,200 meters of elevation gain. That's almost 4,000 feet.
Wow, almost 4,000 feet. That's a serious climb for day one.
It is. But you also descend about 200 meters, so a bit gentler on the knees on the way down.
Okay, good to know. So
Yeah.
13.5 kilometers, a 1,200-meter climb, and a 200-meter descent. And about how long should hikers expect to spend on this section?
You're looking at about 5 to 6 hours of hiking time for the standard route. But here's where things get interesting. Many hikers actually choose to start their journey with the Bellevue gondola.
Oh, a gondola ride. Now that sounds like a pretty scenic way to begin. Tell me more about this gondola option.
Well, it essentially bypasses about 500 meters of that initial climb, which can be a pretty significant energy saver, especially if you're thinking about tackling the Col de Trico variant later in the day.
Okay, so two new things to consider here. The Bellevue gondola and the Col de Trico variant. Let's start with the gondola. How much does it cost? And are there any time constraints for using it?
Those are important details to check for sure. Costs and operating hours can vary depending on the season, but I always recommend double-checking the latest information on the TMB website or at the Les Houches tourist office.
Got it. Always best to have the most up-to-date info. Now let's talk about this Col de Trico variant. What exactly does that entail?
So a variant basically means an alternative route that branches off from the main trail, offers a different experience. And for the Col de Trinco, it's a slightly more challenging path. Adds about 2 hours to your hike, but with a pretty amazing reward.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this reward.
Well, imagine a dramatic Himalayan-style suspension bridge with stunning views of the Bayanase Glacier.
Wow, okay, that sounds incredible. A Himalayan-style bridge and glacier views. I'm sold. But you said it's more challenging. So what should hikers be aware of in terms of difficulty?
The Col de Trico variant does involve some steeper climbs and descents, and the weather conditions up there can be unpredictable,
Yeah.
so it's really crucial to check the forecast before heading out.
That's a good point. Mountain weather can change in an instant, so it's always best to be prepared. Okay, so we've got the gondola option bypassing some of the initial climbs, and then the Col de Trico variant, which adds a bit of challenge and some spectacular views. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of hiking, food and water.
Absolutely. Fueling up and staying hydrated is essential, especially on a challenging hike like the TMB. What are you thinking about bringing with you on day one?
Well, I'm definitely planning on packing plenty of water and some snacks. But I'm also curious about the options for refilling water bottles and maybe even grabbing a boat to eat along the way. What are some of the key spots to keep in mind?
Yeah, I think that's smart. I would say first things first, make sure to stock up on snacks and drinks in Les Houches before you even hit the trail. There are a few shops there where you can grab last-minute supplies. Once you're on the trail, your first major stop, whether you take the standard route or the gondola, will likely be Col de Vosa.
Col de Vosa, what can I expect to find there?
Col de Vosa is a popular rest stop with a mountain restaurant, so you can grab a hot meal or a coffee. And importantly, there's also a water fountain there where you can refill your bottles.
Okay, that's good to know. So Col de Vosa is a good spot for refueling both myself and my water bottles. What about further along the trail? Are there any other notable stops for food or water?
If you decide to take that Col de Trico variant, you'll actually pass by the Miage Refuge. It's a fantastic spot for lunch.
Okay, so the Miage Refuge for lunch if we're taking the Col de Trico variant. What kind of food do they serve there?
They're known for their hearty mountain meals. They are perfect for refueling after a challenging climb. But heads up, they only accept cash.
Oh, really? Cash only. Good to know. I'll make sure to have some euros on hand.
Amen.
What about if we stick to the standard route? Are there any other notable food stops along the way?
Yeah, there's a small snack stop called Auberge du Tric. It's about midway between Col de Vosa and Notre Dame de la Gauche.
Okay, so Auberge du Tric for a quick bite if we're on the standard route.
Yeah.
And then we'll eventually reach Notre Dame de la Gorge. Is there anything there besides the church? I know we talked about that earlier.
Notre Dame de la Gorge is definitely more about soaking in the atmosphere than refueling. You've got that beautiful Baroque church worth a visit. And there are a couple of water sources there, one by the toilet block and another by the church bridge.
Got it. So scenic pit stop with water refills sounds perfect. And then finally, I'll reach my destination for day one. Gites les Melezes. What should I expect there?
Gites Melezes is a cozy mountain lodge, offers hearty dinners and a chance to restock your supplies for day 2.
Okay, so good food and a chance to restock. What a great way to end day 1. Now, I'm thinking back to our conversation about that initial climb from Les Houches. If I decide to skip the gondola and hike those 500 meters, is there anything specific about that section of the trail that I should be prepared for?
That's a great question. It's a good workout for sure, but it's not overly technical. The trail is well maintained and relatively gradual. The key thing is pacing yourself.
Pacing, as in not starting off too fast.
Exactly. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of day 1 and, you just want to go, go, go. But you have a long way to go, and it's better to conserve your energy.
So take it slow and steady, enjoy the scenery, let my body acclimatize. That makes a lot of sense. What about those wayside shrines you mentioned? Are those located along that initial climb?
You'll find a few of them scattered along the trail. Yeah, they add a really unique element to the landscape and, a sense of history and tradition. There's one in particular just before you reach the tree line, offers a pretty stunning panoramic view of the valley below.
Okay, so I'll keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
Now, I know we talked about the Col de Trico variant earlier, but I'm still a bit hesitant. What if I start hiking towards it and then realize it's too challenging for me? Is there a way to turn back?
You're in luck. The trail to Col de Trico actually branches off from the main route at Col de Vosa. So if you reach Col de Vosa and you're not feeling up to the extra challenge, you can simply continue on the standard path towards Gites les Melezes.
That's reassuring. It's good to have options along the way. I think we have a pretty good grasp of the route now. From the starting point in Les Houches to those initial decisions about the gondola and the Col de Trico variant, is there anything else I should be aware of before we move on from this section of the hike?
Yeah, just one more thing. The descent from Col de Vosa to Gites les Melezes can be a bit steep and rocky in places, especially if you choose that Col de Trico variant, which adds a bit more elevation loss.
Okay, good to know. Sturdy hiking boots are a must.
Absolutely. And trekking poles might be helpful for that section too, especially if you're carrying a heavier backpack.
So to recap, start slow, savor the views, especially from that wayside shrine. Make the Col de Trico decision at Col de Vosa and be prepared for a potentially rocky descent.
You got it. I think you're more than ready to tackle day 1.
I'm feeling excited and prepared. But before I set off on this virtual hike, there's one more thing I'm curious about.
What's that?
You mentioned that many hikers choose to start their TMB journey with this particular section. Why is that? What makes it such a popular starting point?
There are a few reasons, I'd say. Firstly, Les Houches is easily accessible by public transportation, makes it a convenient starting point for those traveling from other parts of Europe. Secondly, as we've discussed, this section offers a great mix of scenery and challenge without being overly demanding. It's a great way to ease into the TMB and get a feel for the terrain and the overall experience.
Right. It's like a sampler platter of the TMB, giving you a taste of everything that's to come.
Exactly. And thirdly, ending your first day at Gites les Melezes is a real treat. It's a charming lodge with a warm and welcoming atmosphere, and the food is fantastic. It's the perfect place to relax and celebrate completing your first day on the TMB.
It sounds idyllic. Okay. I think I'm ready to move on to day 2 now. But before we do, is there anything specific about that first night at Gites les Melezes that I should be prepared for?
Gites les Melezes is known for its friendly and communal atmosphere, so you'll probably find yourself chatting with fellow hikers over dinner, sharing stories and tips. It's a great way to connect with the TMB community and learn from others' experiences.
That sounds lovely. I always enjoy those spontaneous conversations on the trail. It's amazing how quickly you can bond with people who share a love of hiking.
Absolutely. And speaking of sharing, Gites les Melezes has a communal dining room, so you'll be seated with other hikers at large tables. It's a fantastic opportunity to make new friends and swap stories from the day's adventures.
Communal dining.
Yeah.
That's a great point. It definitely adds to the social aspect of the TMB. Is there anything else I should know about Gites les Melezes before we wrap up our deep dive into day 1?
Just one more tip. The lodge has a limited number of showers, and sometimes there can be a queue in the evenings after everyone arrives from their hikes. If you're eager for a hot shower, it might be worth arriving a bit earlier in the afternoon if possible to avoid the rush.
That's a good tip. I definitely wouldn't want to miss out on a hot shower after a long day of hiking. So to recap day 1, I have options for starting with the gondola or hiking from Les Houches, a decision to make about the Col de Trico variant, stunning views, charming wayside shrines, key refueling stops, and a cozy night at Gites les Melezes.
You got it. And remember, no matter which route you choose, embrace the journey and savor every moment. The TMB is an incredible experience, and day 1, it's just the beginning.
I can't wait to get started. Thanks for guiding me through this deep dive into day one. It's been incredibly helpful and has definitely fueled my excitement for the TMB.
You're very welcome. Happy hiking.